55 Famous Alibis by Old Man. If people who do not succeed have one distinguishing trait in common. They know all the reasons for failure, and have what they believe to be airtight alibis to explain away their own lack of achievement. Some of these alibis are clever, and a few of them are justifiable by the facts. But alibis cannot be used for money. The world wants to know only one thing. Have you achieved success? A character analyst compiled a list of the most commonly used alibis. As you listen to this, examine yourself carefully, and determine how many of these alibis, if any, are your own property. Remember, too, the philosophy presented in this speech makes every one of these alibis obsolete. If I didn't have wife and family, if I had enough pull, if I had money, if I had good education, if I could get a job, if I had a good health, if I only had time, if times were better, if other people understood me, if conditions around me were only different, if I could live my life over again, if I did not fear what they would say, if I had been given a chance, if I now had a chance, if other people didn't have it in for me, if nothing happens to stop me, if I were only younger, if I could only do what I want, if I had been born rich, if I could meet the right people, if I had a talent that some people have, if I dated assert myself, if I only had embraced opportunities, if people didn't get on my nerves, if I didn't have to keep house and look after the children, if I could save some money, if the boss only appreciate me, if I only had somebody to help me, if my family understood me, if I live in a big city, if I could just get started, if I were only free, if I had the personality of some people, if I were not so fat, if my talents were known, if I could just get a break, if I could only get out of debt, if I hadn't failed, if I only knew how, if everybody didn't oppose me, if I didn't have so many worries, if I could marry the right person, if people weren't so dumb, if my family were not so extravagant, if I were sure of myself, if luck were not against me, if I had not been born under the wrong star, if it were not true that what is to be will be, if I did not to work so hard, if I hadn't lose my money, if I live in a different neighborhood, if I didn't have a past, if I only had a business of my own, if other people would only listen to me, and this is the greatest of them all, if I had the courage to see myself as I really am, I would find out what is wrong with me and correct it. Then I might have a chance to profit by my mistake and learn something from the experience of others, for I know that there is something wrong with me, or I would now be where I would have been if I had spent more time analyzing my weakness, and less time building alibis to cover them. Building alibis with which to explain away failure is a national pastime. The habit is as old as human race, and is fatal to success. Why do people cling to their alibis? Because they're created them. A man's alibi is the child of his own imagination. It is human nature to defend one's own brainchild. Thank you for your time. Please subscribe, and could you please leave me a comment? Great, thank you so much.